Lance Wetzel, joining us from Helena. Lance, thanks for being with us here this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Now, did I read right? I'm trying to recall without just quoting the full story here. You've kind of been involved in Montana athletics over the years as well, huh?
Oh yeah, I've been a high school basketball coach. I'll be dating myself here a little bit, but over 20 years, and of course I've been involved in a lot of youth sports with football and softball, and so yeah, I'm pretty busy.
I saw the latest report here. I saw a story from the Daily Caller. Obviously, this Washington Redskins story has kind of been all over the national media, but the latest story that I saw right now, because the last we've heard, the Washington Redskins are just saying they're looking into it, whether or not they're going to change their name or change their logo. But according to this report, the Washington Redskins are going to omit any Native American imagery whatsoever in whatever new name they go with here. I guess, what's your reaction to this?
I've been paying a lot of attention to it, and I did read that a few nights ago, where they, had stated that they might wipe, the name, but also the imagery, and to me that touches me a little bit, because just of the connection of my dad with the logo and the pride that I have in the logo. When I see that logo, it's not a logo like the Cleveland Indians cartoon style logo. It's a depiction of a real Native American, and I take a lot of pride in that. I know other natives that take a lot of pride in that, and it's I really kind of thought about it, and it's a tough thing, because I've always been a fan, since growing up as a kid, and my dad and I would watch football games together, and there's just a lot of meaning behind that logo, in my opinion.
And your dad, I know he is kind of very, very prominent, and kind of worked closely with a lot of leading officials back in his day. He was in a leadership organization, but as I understand it, your dad was actually the main reason why the Washington Redskins came up with the logo in honor of this legendary Blackfeet chief from Montana.
Yeah, that's correct. He was the National Congress of American Indians president, and moved the whole family out to D.C. and approached the team and made the recommendation and said, hey, why don't you guys consider putting an Indian on the helmet and represent the people, and they accepted the idea, and that's the logo you see today.
So are the Washington Redskins, are they, because you guys, your family was brought on the field before a Redskins game, and credit to the leadership of the Washington Redskins, they wanted their fans to know the importance and the symbology behind their logo, that they, like you just said, this isn't some cartoon character, this is an actual man, this is an actual Blackfeet chief. I guess first off, tell us just give us some of the history of the importance of the logo itself to you and your family. I understand Blackfeet tribal members yourself.
Yeah, I'm Blackfeet, and my dad had a very strong connection as tribal chairman of the Blackfeet back in the day, before he was the NCIA president, and he knew a lot of those elders back in those times, and he just felt that the images that he took in and shared with them, and he took in, from my understanding, he took in several images and said, here's what I think, and he shared that with them. And coming from Blackfeet country, and even knowing that logo comes from Montana, as a whole, it's special. And I take a lot of pride in it, and like I said, there's a lot of others who take pride in that logo, and knowing that it came from our tribe, and then also, it's from Montana too, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great story and incredible background, and unfortunately, it just seems like there's those who want to erase history, and I don't know. It's almost like in the name of trying to make sure that Native Americans aren't discriminated against, and that the unintended consequences is that they're actually removing Native Americans from the prominence that they deserve in American culture and in American history. I don't know. What's your take on that?
You know, it's interesting because as a kid growing up, never ever did I hear my dad say that, the term redskin. He never ever said that term was derogatory. If somebody said redskin to me growing up, I would say, that's the Washington Redskins. That's the team. That's my team. And, he never expressed that. I can remember when the Washington Post contacted him back in 2000 and wanted his take on it. And at the time he said, it's a small group of radicals that are mostly non-Indians who started the controversy. And, I think it's built up from then. And, we're going through some, massive changes now.
Lance, again, great to have you on the show. We were talking about this on the show the other day because I shared this news story on our website at montanatalks.com, and I got a great phone call from a gentleman in Red Lodge. He says he's actually Dakota, but he grew up in Browning, so he considers, the Blackfeet Nation his home, even though he comes from a different tribe. But he said, I love the logo. I don't want to change the logo, but he said he doesn't like the name, the Redskins. So, he threw out the idea, why not call it the Washington Warriors, but keep the logo of this, honorary, of this chief from the Blackfeet Nation. Anyway, I understand that's been a debate even in your own family about the name separate from the logo conversation.
Yeah, and, like I said, growing up as a kid, I referred to, the Redskins as the team, and never myself was I ever called that. And, I heard other things that were, slurs, but nothing that referred to Redskin. And as I got older and I started, kind of doing my own research and talking with other people, I formed my own opinion, and I could understand how others felt that term could be offensive towards them. And, I have, a lot of people that, I have respect for, and I heard, kind of how they referenced it and, made the statement of, how it was used against certain ones and how it, it can come across as derogatory. And I understand that. And, I've had very minimal contact with the Redskins and, our family. And that's, kind of where that conversation went is, how other natives have contacted them and feel that term is derogatory. And based on my own research and my own studies on it, I can see where people take offense to it.
To the name, but not the logo. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. To the name. And back, the Redskins, it was 88 years yesterday when they started, being the Redskins when they moved from Boston. And, I don't think that they chose that name in a derogatory way or used it in a derogatory way. And I think, kind of with time, how certain words might not be appropriate today that were, back in those days. And, I think that's kind of along the lines of, where this is going and how people are, speaking up and saying, well, yeah, this isn't necessarily, certain natives saying that they don't really look at that word in a positive way, and I totally understand that.
Yeah. What's most frustrating to me is that all the national news outlets that are doing stories about this and running with the propaganda about getting rid of the logo and all of this stuff, and they never go back and look at the history. They never go back and actually talk to the Native Americans who are honored by this logo, and it's just so frustrating. What would your message be? Because we seem to be in the middle of this cancel culture where everybody gets so offended so easily. We've only got a couple of minutes to go, but what would your message be to maybe the well-intentioned folks out there who think they're just trying to be helpful? Maybe the more white liberal folks on the East Coast who think they're being helpful to Native Americans by protesting something like the Redskins logo. What would your message be to them?
Well, again, you look at the logo, and it's a depiction of a real person, and the connection it has with, Native Americans. And like I said, I know a lot of people who support the logo. They don't support the name, and I understand that. And, going back to this gentleman from Red Lodge, he referenced the name Warriors, and I think that's fitting. I think calling them Washington Warriors, keeping the logo, I mean, you're able to still keep that history, that heritage, that culture, and that representation, excuse me, in place. And it's kind of another thing that I think about too is, natives over the course of time have kind of become that lost generation, the lost culture. The population, compared to other cultures and races is very low. And I think that logo gives representation that, hey, don't forget about us. We're still here, and
yeah,
and we're still going strong and surviving, and in that logo just kind of reminds everybody,